JoyNews investigation has revealed that the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development did not need waste bins in November 2016 when the contract was awarded to procure 1 million of them under a certificate of emergency. JoyNews reported Monday how a waste bin contract awarded to the Jospong Group has been inflated by at least 130 million cedis. A JoyNews investigative tour of assemblies across the 10 regions of Ghana reveals waste bins procured by the local government ministry for distribution 2 years ago are still dumped in the sun and are going waste in many assemblies. Manasseh Azuriawuni spent 9 months investigating what appears to be a deliberate ploy to defraud the state through the district assembly. So, joining me in the studios to delve into this issue further, but just to keep ourselves abreast, yesterday we were informed that even though we already know that we had bins in the system, this was taken through single sourcing, and the 5 companies which carried out this contract or were awarded this contract are all subsidiaries of Jospong Group. Manasseh Azuriawuni has joined me in the studios. Welcome, Manasseh.
Thank you, Dan.
So what do we know about this now?
Well, what we know is that we went through the assemblies across the country, and we realized that heaps, hundreds, and in some cases about thousands of litter bins are still there. So we asked, why are these litter bins here? And they told us that 2 years ago, they were there and the ministry brought them some for distribution. And there are some of the assemblies that they have very rural population. So they prefer to put their refuse, which is even not much, into smaller containers and dump them in the communal waste bins. So for such places, people don't really need them. There are also urban centers that private waste management companies also give out waste bins for free. And whilst they do the collection, they take the money. So if you go to the assemblies, if you go to Tema Metropolitan Assembly now, you find some there. We got to Biakoye at Nkonya. We went to Peve in the South Dai District, Pando Municipality, Krachi East, Krachi West, Krachi Chumru. We went all the way to Bongo, Talensi in the Upper East region. If you go to the Northern Regional Coordinating Council in Tamale, you find heaps of them still packed there. You go to Wa is the same. So we asked.
And these are all places we visited ourselves.
And we have videos, pictures, and everything. So at the end of the day, we asked them and they said, look, they brought it. We don't, some of the people don't need them. And some are even using it to store water. If you go to Wa, for instance, they had to go and then retrieve some that were used to store water.
Well, let me understand this. When you went to the rural areas, they said that they don't need bins that size.
Yes. Not only in the rural, some are not so rural. If you go to Tema, for instance, it's not so rural. If you go to Pando and some of the places.
Well, but then for the urban centers, I was going to separate them. For the urban centers, they do need them, but the waste collection companies give them out for free.
For free, in some cases. In some cases. And it is not, if you look at what happened, there was no systematic attempt to see how to get these things through. They just went and dumped it there. So some of the assemblies were able to give it out. Some are also still struggling to give it out. And our investigation has revealed that the contract to produce these ones was worth, they gave them the contract to supply 155,000 litre bins. That's the Ministry of Local Government awarded a contract to a private company to supply 155,000 litre bins.
Do we know that company?
Yes, Qualiplast. They are the leading producers. So the company started supplying, and they gave them about 100,000 litre bins. And the question is, where are the rest? The company is prepared to supply, but the ministry asked the company to hold on because they didn't have the place to store them. So while the company was still holding on to supply the remaining 55,000, the ministry now went ahead to award another contract to supply 1 million litre bins.
No, Manasseh. So the ministry gives out a contract.
So let's just make the example, let's just use this as an example. I'm the ministry.
Yes.
And you are the supplier.
Yes.
I come to you to supply me 155,000 liter beans.
And I give you 100,000.
And you're about to supply the rest.
I'm ready to give the 55.
Yes. And I tell you that, hold on, I don't really have the space to keep the 55,000.
Yes.
Because, and what we went to see, it is true, because a lot of the places, they are just packed outside. And some are getting broken and all of that. So he said, hold on, I'll come for the 55,000. So whilst you are still waiting to supply me, I go to contract another person to supply me 1 million.
So is it these 100,000 bins that you saw at the various assemblies?
Various assemblies, some of them.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So have we gotten a response yet from the ministry?
The ministry has not responded yet, and we're still hoping that they would respond. I tried to speak to the parties involved, and as I stated yesterday, the instruction to award this contract, the new one, the 1 million, came from the office of the president. I've spoken to then Chief of Staff Julius Deborah, who actually signed that letter. He is not prepared to go on record. Collins Dowda was the Minister of Local Government at the time. He is also not prepared to go on record for now. The Zoom Lion Group are also not speaking for now. But what we know is that at the time of awarding this contract, and it was even rushed through single source procurement, and was awarded under the certificates of emergency, our findings have revealed that the ministry actually did not need those waste bins.
Yeah, these 100,000 bins, some of which have been abandoned now, how long have they been lying down at the offices?
For more than 2 years now, because they were sent there early 2015, and we are in 2017, and they are still there. And for a district like Krachin Chumuru, they've not been able to distribute even one. And they don't have a place to keep it. So if you go to the police station at Chenderi, it is packed outside. If you go to Krachin...
With them, for instance, how many did they get?
They got about more than 200. And Biakunya, they got 350, and they've been able to give out only 70. So the rest are also there. And for Pando, they have theirs in a garage of a sort. If you go to Tema, it is lying outside. If you go to Wa, theirs is even overgrown. Where they dumped it for now, if you go, it's the place overgrown with weeds. And so if you don't get closer, you may not even see that they have waste bins lying down there.
Now, Manasseh, my curiosity is about the Public Procurement Authority, because yesterday you told us that to justify the single source, and they said that they fear an impending cholera outbreak.
Yes.
Even though you pointed out we are entering the dry season.
Dry season, yes.
And so did the Procurement Authority know that we had these bins lying going to waste?
I cannot say whether they knew or not, but even if you look at the face of the document and somebody is coming to seek your permission to use single sourcing, and they are saying, oh, with the onset of the rains and all of that, and you are in October. The PPA letter is dated 27th October, almost the end of October. Then that should even raise questions, but I have cited a lot of unjustifiable requests, which the PPA has accepted. So I am not surprised seeing that they did not raise questions with this particular one.
Wow. So is there any more in this story?
There is more on a number of other sanitation-related contracts, because this dustbin was even not the main reason we decided to travel. We traveled to find other issues with the sanitation contracts in the assemblies. So the first place we went was Peve in the Volta region. So when I got there, they were having a meeting, so I decided to just go around the assembly. So I came across this heap of dustbins. So I took a photograph because I had heard about the contract. Then I got to Pando and I saw some. I got to Biakoye in Nkonya and I still saw some. So that really made me realize that, well, this was not a one-off thing. It seemed to have been happening in a lot of the assemblies. So I decided to take it seriously. So there are a lot of them assemblies, fumigation contracts, and the rest. They will all come up in these few weeks.
Right. Thank you very much, Manasseh Azuri-Awuni.
My pleasure.
For that revelation.